So what we're going to do is, I was wanting to highlight the Hawkwing roof tent, or the roof awning as it were. Now the Hawkwing, it will sort of go over the other side. You see where those sort of L-shaped brackets are on the end of these crossbars. The Hawkwing would obviously go across there, and it would float over that side and float over the rear tailgate as well. But what I was going to highlight to you was in the kit that you get with the Hawkwing awning, you do get these two crossbars as part of the kit. Now what I'm doing here is I'm going to mount these crossbars to our Troop 3 roof rack. There's loads of different ways you can actually mount the crossbars to the roof rack, because these are the fixings you get with the Hawkwing awning. And as you can see, I've sort of set this up. You get this plate system, you bolt it through, and how that would normally fit would be you would slide it into the end of the bar like so, and you can see there that I've just simply put it through there, bolted it under, and if you can see it under there, possibly there's a bolt. I've just put a washer on it and a bolt, really simple. And I've done that one bolt, similar thing on the other side, whether you can see it or not. I'll just zoom in slowly. There you can just see the bolt sort of protruding slightly. Anyway, so the crossbar there is mounted to that, so I would simply just slide that in and slide this across like that, and just get the ratchet underneath and tighten it up. Very simple. Now the problem is this looks fine, and that's actually probably the strongest way of doing it. Or you could even slide these through like so, and have the plate on the other side of the mesh. Or you could even have the plate on the other side of this, tubing here. Now normally when you get the Hawkwing awning, you don't necessarily have this roof rack. It might be that your car's got these standard raised roof rails, you know, like this car has here, this Discovery 2. So this is a standard raised roof rail. So how it would normally work would be you'd have this go around it like so, and that would slot into the crossbar. So it's almost like a giant U-bolt, as it were, that would go round. You can see on the pictures on the Hawkwing advert of how we've just mounted it to a standard roof rail. Again, it's really versatile. So you can go to roof rails, it can go onto the roof rack. Now the other option is, let's say for example you've got this flatbed roof rack, or you've got a roof rack with a high wall on it, or even our Troop 1, which is flatbed, and toward the front you've got a high wall just in the quarter section there, and you think, well, I don't want to stick a roof bar on it because you're losing space, you can't lie things flat. So what do I do? Well, what you would do is, the kit comes with 3 of these quite heavy duty, quite thick angle brackets here. So you've got 4 holes in the main base section and 2 holes there. Now traditionally on your Hawkwing awning, on the back of the awning, these are the 2 holes that line up with the back of the awning. We'll look at that in a second. So these 4 holes here, you would bolt to whatever it is, whether the end of the roof bar like we've done there, we did the 2 brackets, or you could actually, so as not to lose too much space in your roof rack, you could simply bolt it to the mesh system like so. How would you do that? Well, quite simply, you would just get the kit comes with these, I think they're 6 or 8 mil bolts. You would put the bolts through like that. Now I've just got some oversized washers like that, so obviously the oversized washer would there we go, lost that. The oversized washer would, let's go over here on the back where I can reach, will go on the other side of the mesh like so, and you would just simply bolt it through the hole. That way you're not losing space on the bed. I mean, that's pretty flush with the top there. You've only got a little bit there protruding out. You could have one bracket at the front, just here. You could have one bracket in the middle, one bracket in the back. Now the beauty of doing it that way on the rack is you can use all 3 brackets for your Hawkwing roof rack, because don't forget that the Hawkwing comes with 3 of these, whereas it comes with only 2 of the crossbars. So if you're going to use the crossbars, you can only use 1 and 2 of these brackets. But if you're not going to use the crossbars and you're going to bolt it to this, one of these, you can use all 3. Hawkwing awning boxes, and obviously you get the bag with all the bolts in and brackets and so on, and the sort of T-shape large black bracket. A couple of different spanner sizes there, 8 to 10 mil, 13 to 15 mil, and then the bag of bolts that you get. Now when you sort of open up the awning, you'll see it this way round. Obviously Direct4x4 Expedition needs to be the right way round. I've seen that happen. And so here you can see the back of the awning. You've got this sort of channel system, and this is where these sort of bolts come in play. Excuse me, shaking around. So you've got the bolts here. You take the nut off, and you slide it into the end, into the channel. So I put 2 in that side ready. You can probably see it just there. Put 2 in there. Now that's because at the top of our roof rack, if you remember, I've only got 2 brackets. Now obviously if you're going to use all 3, I would slide another set toward the centre of that. So here's the stage of putting the Hawkwing awning up on the side of the car. You've got the brackets there. So 1-man job, pretty simple, and 1 man with a bad back as well, so I'm sure you'll be okay. So what I did basically was I measured the distance between that and that rail there, and then using that same measurement I sort of aligned the studs at that sort of area, measured along here, and then aligned the studs there as well, so that I could hold this up in the middle here. Oops. Hold this up in the middle here, and I just had some nuts ready, some of the 6, I think it's 6 or 8 mil nuts in my hand ready, and just poke the holes through, hand tight the top and the bottom one on that side, and then swap hands, and then hand tight the, so you can see I've not fully tightened these ones up on this side yet. Now it's interesting to note at this point as well that when I tighten the front ones up, it's tempting to, as you start tightening the top one up, is to let go of the slack of the awning as you're tightening it up. But what I will say is keep pulling the weight of the roof rack up as you're tightening it up, because what you want is you want the best surface area tension to go across both bottom and top, rather than it being too much of a pivot on the top there. And it's the same with the bottom, that I found that by pulling the bottom out as I'm tightening it up, so pulling it this way as I tighten it up, it actually helps with the bottom bolt going right on, because you don't want too much on one bolt being pulled out. Also, if you just do it sort of make sure the torque isn't too much, because this is obviously going into an aluminium channel and you don't want to rip. I put the Hawkwing awning on now, right way around. Now if you notice, there's quite a gap running between the awning base and the roof rack base. It's adjustable, obviously. You can sort of bring it out as far as you want, or you can take it in as far as you want. If it was myself and I was going to take it on a trip on holiday, I'd want it as waterproof and weatherproof as possible. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to adjust the bolts that keep the rail in place and I'm going to push the rail back so that when the awning is opened up, you won't see much of a gap under there. Similarly, if you wanted to have it as the best surface area as possible coming out, because don't forget it comes out 2.5 meters out of the top of the car or the van or whatever it is, motorhome. But if you want it the greatest surface area, like further than 2.5 meters, there's nothing to say or nothing to stop you from bringing those roof rails out even further. I'm sure that the weight of those roof rails, you could sort of drive up to wherever you're going and bring those roof rails out another foot at least. So your awning essentially starts here or there, and then it would move out from there, giving you up to 3 meters really in space to come out. But we'll see it in action in a minute when we Hawkwing awning. We'll see the looking from the top of the awning here. 1, 2, 4 segments coming around. Got the tailgate open at the back there. Comes out about 2.5 meters. Fully waterproofed. Great spec product really, and great value for money. And you can see where each of the hinges at the top there sort of spins around. So as you assemble the awning, as you fold it out, you really need to hold these poles here. You need 4 of them here, obviously. It's best as a 2-man job. I tried it just on my own and at times failed miserably, but I'm sure you can do it with the best laid plans. So now on the poles, I'll show you in a second, but you've got 2 ends to the pole basically, and you sort of twist and lock the poles. There's a shorter spike and there's a longer spike. The longer, thinner spike goes through the top, and it goes through the sort of eyelet at the top as well. And the shorter one goes through, spikes into the floor or wherever you're going to put it into. You see it's protruding out the top of the hinge there. Same on that one there as well. So, like I say, it's best as a 2-man job, because what you don't want is you don't want to pull each section out and leave it hanging, because it puts strain on the joints and has been known to twist and buckle the hinges at the end there. So, 2-man job. The first person can hold the poles, and the second person can walk around and he just sticks the poles in as he walks around. I'll just show you what happens as you pull it out. So as you're pulling each section of the awning out, first pole comes across here, and then you put the pole in there, and then as you do it, it'll be quite baggy actually to start with, and I'll show you why and what you should do about it. So it's quite baggy to start with, and then you put the penultimate one there, and then you put the last one here. Now as you put the last one in, this is one of the key ones really. You put the spike in the top, and now you'll see the hinge there. Now in hindsight, when I sort of erected this, it's best to pull the cover over as far as you can to give you more leeway on that hinge, because ideally you want the hinge to be in line with the tailgate or the boot or the rack or whatever it is. And you can see here mine's at a bit of an angle. It's because I've got strain on the actual cover. But they give you this strap, and it's a brilliant idea. So what you do is, as you're pulling this out, what I did is pulled it out as far as I could go at the time, which wasn't as far as this. It was a bit further, a bit more of an acute angle, still quite baggy. And I just got this strap and I put it round there and I strapped it onto the rack, which then enabled me to walk back around the Hawkwing, go to the first section again, which was quite baggy, and just pull it a bit further, and then go to the next one and pull that a bit further, and pull this a bit further. And what it does is it loosens it a little bit, and then you come back down to the last pole, and holding the last pole with one hand, you can actually pull tight with the strap. You can just pull it a little bit further, obviously not too hard because you don't want to break the hinge or snap the pole. But you tend to know the tolerances as you pull it anyway. If you pull it with your hand, you'll feel the tolerances, and then you sort of strap it around there. You can do that several times. I've done it several times until I got to the point where it's as flat as I would like it. There are areas in the Hawkwing here where you can stick an extra pole. Fortunately it doesn't come in the kit, but you could probably stick another pole on there, which would then go on top of this extra spike, which would make it extra stable all the way around. However, you don't really need it, to be honest with you. I mean, if you were to pull up on here, obviously we've pulled up on stony ground, but if you were to pull up on a grassy place or wherever, you could just put the spikes in there, and you could put the guide ropes in here. I've put my makeshift stones and rocks by a lakeside onto my guide rope here, there and there, and another one round there. And so you would hammer those down as well, and you would put these into the ground, and that would just give you enough stability that you need anyway. And to be fair, if you pulled up somewhere where it was really windy, I'd, as a disclaimer, really would say not to put it out. When we first got these awnings, we erected one down at our previous warehouse, and we learned that lesson. And as the awning was flying around everywhere, but in this case we're in a nice secluded area here, gentle breeze, and that's what you want really, because you're only going to use these awnings on times and periods when it's going to be beautiful sunshine and you can escape. And the beauty is obviously, like, you can open the front door, you can open the boot, somebody could walk out. You can open the tailgate here and somebody could be sat on the tailgate, sat in the boot. You could operate from the back, fold out table. You see, I'm stood here a good 1.5 meters, 2 meters from the tailgate, and I'm still just under the awning. So brilliant, really good bit of kit here. Now you remember I mentioned before about putting it as far under as you can. There I sort of put it a bit further under, on top of the rack. I put the brackets down there just so I lessen the gap. I mean, the gap previously was a lot wider, but this one I've lessened the gap. But really I've made a mistake here, which is good to film actually, just to show that this is a potential mistake you could make. That when you're driving with it on the car, you can see it's a nice distance if you were to pack it up just over the tailgate, so that it's kind of equal enough from the tailgate to just hovering above the windscreen, if you can see it there in line with the windscreen. Now obviously while you're driving, if you bring it too far forward, it's going to look silly over the end of the windscreen. So it's quite a nice distance there equally for driving around, for transport and so on. However, this is some advice I'd like to give if you want to make it as sort of waterproof and as protected from the elements or sun or whatever it is as possible, is that once you moor up wherever you are, is sort of get these brackets on the back of the awning there. Can you see them? And when you sort of loosen the bolts and slide the whole awning that way, because you see here we've got this sort of large gap. But it'd be nicer if it'd be more beneficial if the edge of the awning actually came to somewhere like here. So we're looking at sort of like another 7 inches, something like that, toward the front. So obviously that's better when done when you moor up, you park up somewhere, you're setting it all up, and you can just move it forward, and it'd be lovely that this would be seamless. You could have like a cover going from over the tailgate all the way around to potentially over the... So just to finalise really on the Hawkwing awning, perfect fit on the Discovery 2, on the roof rack of course. But any car with rails, with raised rails, you know, the traditional styles raised rails with a gap underneath, with those kind of fittings, the Hawkwing will just fit straight on, perfect. And to set it up, initial setup was probably about 20 minutes, half an hour at the most, and then to actually erect it and to put it in place, for one man job it was probably about 10 minutes at the most, so 2-man job be less than that. Although I'd imagine you're not in a hurry when you're using a Hawkwing awning anyway, are you? So yeah, brilliant. We've got special offers on these, and buy one now.